Welcome to the meeting of the Plymouth School Board of Trustees for May 7th. You'll join us in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item is to set the agenda. Any additions or corrections?
It's 100% accurate.
It's going to be one of those days. I will entertain a motion then to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is set. Are there members of the audience that would like to speak to agenda items this evening? We're certainly going to give our principals the floor here in a little bit, so there'll be another chance at the end if you feel inspired. Our next item is the consent agenda. See the list in front of you. Are there items that we'll allow the principals to introduce some folks here in a little bit? Are there other items that the board members want to take out separately? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion then for the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. And on the consent agenda, we have some folks that I think are here to introduce some other folks. So I'll let you decide.
Mr. Condon, do you have some new teachers?
I do. I'll introduce them if they would just stand. As I introduce, I think we have 3 here tonight, unless I'm overlooking someone that snuck in. First, I'd like to introduce John Johnson. John comes to us from neighboring John Glenn High School. John will be teaching science, and he'll also be teaching in the Widener School of Inquiry as well. So we welcome John, a veteran teacher, who will be joining us. We also welcome Lacey Buck. Lacey comes to us from LaVille High School. She will teach chemistry in Plymouth High School next year. She too is a veteran teacher, and we look forward to having her as a part of our instructional team. Third, we have Parker Terry. If Parker looks familiar, it's because his mom works for me. Denise is sitting next to Parker, and she works in our MOMH classroom as a paraprofessional. Parker comes to us after having served as the head choral director at Churubusco Schools, and he is a Triton High School graduate. And like the other two, we welcome Parker to our family as well. Thank you. Did I miss anyone? Okay.
I think we have a couple other teachers that
aren't here.
That couldn't be here for one reason or another, but
Two. You want me to say something about that? Sure. Okay, we also will welcome Jeff Corso. Jeff will be joining our English Language Arts Department and teaching in the Widener School of Inquiry. He comes to us from the Columbus school system in Columbus, Indiana. He is a Chesterton graduate. And we also welcome Samantha Schwartz. Samantha is a Purdue graduate, and she is from Valparaiso High School, and she will be teaching mathematics at Plymouth High School, and quite possibly at some point will be involved in the Widener School of Inquiry as well.
Wonderful. Welcome to each of you, and you're welcome to say anything you'd like. Pop quiz. All right.
Or sing it in Parker.
Yeah.
Which language do you want?
well, I will say I've talked to all three of them, and I think that the staff has done a good job of picking out candidates to come. They come to us with experience. I know that Lacey and John already live in Plymouth, so they don't even have to move. And John actually lives in my neighborhood. I think we met when we got together to talk about the job, didn't we? So
You don't have to mow his yard or anything.
No. I've been doing it every week.
Well, if you're in his neighborhood, you're in my neighborhood, and my yard does need mowed.
I'll send my boys over.
Anyway, we have several more people to hire throughout the corporation, and we need to get out front on several of the areas because they're areas that are hard to find good people, and we found good people. So
I am, welcome. I'm struck a little bit by our event yesterday where we were honoring some teachers that retired from our school system after many, many years, 20, 30, I think there was a 40 in there. And one of them, I can't remember which, indicated that, you know, it's great to work with all the teachers that they worked with over the years, and as we bring in new staff, it only gets better. So the standards are high, and I'm sure that's why you were selected. So, welcome. Any others? We're good. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome aboard. You are free to stay for the rest of the meeting. Mr. Conley,
I'm just going to escort him.
all right, on to the business items. 3.1, one of our favorite items, is focus on learning. And this evening we have our Webster.
Mrs. McGuire, go ahead. Introduce your crew there.
My crew. We actually have our first grade students who are going to be presenting tonight. We have one student from each class, and basically I just asked our first grade teachers if they would be willing to do something. At first I told them they had to limit it to 5 minutes, and they said that would be really hard. So we may go over a little bit, but I promise it would be worth it. So they each selected a student that's going to present a little bit on how we're using our iPads in first grade. But our first grade teachers are Miss Rainey, Mrs. Setzer, and Mrs. McIntyre, and our students are Lacey, and Brooklyn, and Max. So if they want to come on up. And they're going to introduce themselves. They all have their note cards, so they're a little nervous, but it's pretty scary looking out there, you know?
Hello, my name is Max Ford, and I am in Mrs. Sessions' class. Thank you for allowing us to present to you tonight. I made an edge creation to show the importance of technology in our classroom and how it helps us learn more.
There's a clicker on the.
This one here? How do I move the cursor?
The center button, the mouse on the center.
Oh, okay. Ooh, that's fun.
And there's a click on the bottom.
Click on the bottom.
You know what? I can do it from here.
Thank you.
I'm going to show you how we use technology in the class. At the iPad Center, we use QR codes to work on phonics and math skills. We also use iPads to get on SpellingCity.com. We use these activities to practice our spelling words of the week. Reading and math. We get on our classroom website to get on apps that help us learn more. At the Learning Center, we can create stories of every creation. We take pictures of the story part and we make up our own story. Also educations to help us learn on our iPads every day. My name is Brooklyn Foster, and this is how we use Padlet, Google Docs, and Educreation. Padlet is where it is a website that we scan on QR codes, and we answer the questions our teacher asks us on Padlet. And we have questions that our teacher asks us every week that goes with our story. We use Google Docs to take surveys and take tests every week. I would use Google Docs for our tests rather than taking them on pencil and paper because Google Docs is more fun to type than to write with a pencil. Taking my test on Google Docs isn't very boring, but writing is kind of boring, and this gets my attention more and making me think more. We also use Educreation to do our story every week with pictures and show our teacher what we have learned and stuff like that. I'm going to tell you about the sequence of events and our story this week, Dot and Jabber and the Great Acorn Mystery. First, Dot and Jabber were bored, so they made up a mystery. The mystery they came up was why is this little oak tree in our backyard? Then they were looking for clues for their mystery. Jabber stuck his head into a hole, and then Will came up and said, if you're looking for clues, go check the big oak tree across the meadow. Last in the story, Dot and Jabber, they finally found out what their mystery was. They said the mystery is solved. The oak tree didn't walk or fly. It was carried by squirrel feet and planted by squirrel feet too.
Hi, my name is Lacey Walters. I'm in Mrs. McIntyre's class. When we read a story, we can make a retell movie. We can also go animate cartoons to show what we have learned. The main idea of the story is Henry and Mudge was scared of Mrs. Hopper's house, but they weren't scared of Mrs. Hopper. Henry's mom and dad went to the sweetheart dance. Of the story, they had lunch with Mrs. Hopper, and she played the violin, and Mudge ate some fresh bread, and then after the dinner, she took them up to her father's room, and they dressed up as costumes all evening. Their mom and dad came home from the sweetheart day, and they were ever surprised when Henry and Mudge came out because they were dressed up.
Did that good?
Hi, Nick, how are you doing? Have you heard of a book called Double Trouble? There are two girls that always gets in trouble all the time.
No, I have not. But would it be cool to be in trouble all the time?
I know. But detail number 1, they always get in trouble. Detail number 2, they went to their neighbor's house. Detail number 3, their mom comes home and sees everything nice and the girls tell her the truth.
So the characters are Lily and Kelly.
I guess that's all.
Wow.
Blog experience, collaborate with others, more choices create. Knowledge, care, tech, iPad is a tool, not a tool. Easier to research, makes learning fun.
Does anybody have any questions either for the kids or for the teachers or about anything you saw? The last two were specifically two ways that the kids actually create those to show that they read a story and they comprehended what they had read. So the last one, we just started using that pretty recently. And they write the dialogue for the characters, and they didn't pick the characters, but that's the way they're using to retell.
Those last two are only available on MacBooks due to Flash player compatibility, or lack thereof on iPads, but we do a text switch with second grade, so we get access to MacBooks to be able to partake in that fun stuff as well. Questions?
I just want an observation. As you can see, we're trying to catch up with you all using our iPads and our meetings. So if we have questions, can we call you guys back to our meeting and help us out?
If they pay you to be in the call. That's an awesome job.
Thank you very much. I know it's a school night, so if you all have homework or want to enjoy some nice weather as opposed to staying in this meeting, you're free to go as well. Mr. Condon, you need to stay.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate
Mr.
it.
Condon's gonna walk them out.
I'll be glad to escort them.
Make sure they get home safe.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll move along to 3.2, report on DOE imagining and creating new learning.
Yeah, that's me. So Bruce is going to bring up just some notes I'll share. Before I talk about that, one thing I want to mention. I was in every elementary today except Carrie's building. I'm going to be there tomorrow. But I was in Angie's building, and Angie had a principal for a day. That was a student, and the student was managing her day with an iPad. I was in Mike's building. Mike and I went to a classroom, and kids were taking notes on their iPad. And so I was at Washington, and there was a hot air balloon, and the kids were taking pictures with their iPads and were blogging about their experience with the hot air balloon. And our kids are really living in a 21st century world, and I think our board and the things that we've done, and Erica, and we have great teachers like Erica who do good things with technology. So just wanted to give them, before I talk about more technology, I wanted to give them their kudos. So we applied for an e-learning grant, and I reported probably like 3 or 4 months ago that, hey, the well's going to dry up on these grants because of the change in administration. And that hasn't happened. The administration has kind of left the e-learning department at the Department of Education, has kind of left them alone, and so they have continued with distributing the money in a competitive way. So we applied, they put out a grant called the Imagining and Creating New Learning Grant, where basically they were looking for districts who didn't want money to go one-to-one, didn't want money for devices, but wanted money to use technology to transform the way our kids are learning and to really make positive change in our schools. So we applied for that. You had to apply to be part of the consortium. So they wanted groups of schools who are going to agree to work together because they really feel like there's leverage in working beyond our district walls. So we applied to be a part of the customized learning consortium, which is individualized learning is another way to put that. Kids moving. I'm going to talk a little bit about more what that is here in a second. But Danville, us, and Garrett were the 3 schools accepted into that consortium. And overall, over 50 schools applied for the grant, and I think there are about 17 listed there that won it. So that's a little bit of background of the grant. opportunities. So go ahead to the next. Okay, so next one, go ahead. Okay, so we have put together a leadership team to talk about how we're going to do this, put our grant proposal together, and it's different than a typical grant proposal where you fill out 20 pages of paperwork. The way that they've been doing it is you fill out some paperwork at the beginning to get your foot in the door, and then once you get your foot in the door, then you actually make a presentation to them for the money. So the 7 of us listed there made the presentation. Michelle and I and Reed and Carrie, and then our e-learning coaches did that as well. Customized Learning Consortium at who? It's Plymouth, Garrett, and Danville. One other thing that's nice about those 3 districts, or those other 2 districts, is that we have a relationship with them. We have a relationship with them through Quality Schools. We're part of that. But we also personally have a relationship with them, which is kind of nice. Dan has worked well with their superintendents. We've worked well with their technology departments. And so we're really excited with those 2 schools. They gave 3 of us $300,000 to collaborate on a framework for instruction that's student-paced and focused on mastery of content and skill. Okay. So really quick, what is customized learning? In the industrial age model of customized learning, it had to be efficient. You had to push kids through in a certain way. And so time was the constant. Every period is 50 minutes. But we know that kids learn at different rates. Okay, I may learn math. I learn math very slow. My wife learns it really fast. We would have been in the same class, learning it in a whole group way at the same pace. Customized learning model is different. Time is the variable. We look at ways to how can we adjust time, how can we adjust schedules, so that time is the variable, learning is the constant, and we assure that each kid gets it. Just a quote, Inevitable is the book that we've all studied as we prepared for the grant. It's kind of something kind of stuck out. I just wanted to share. We've created special costly programs for those who need extra time and additional coaching, but we leave our fast runners to be controlled by the master schedule and the curriculum. And so, customized learning isn't about extra time, it is about extra time. It isn't about extra resources for our fast runners. It's about getting out of their way. And the idea that the master schedule, the idea that putting them through a whole group method where they're learning at the teacher's pace is actually doing a disservice to our fast runners. And so, I'll go ahead to the next slide there. So our plan is to kind of ease into this and kind of really just do action research. We're not looking to change the way we do school overnight with a lot of areas, but we're going to start in customized learning plan for accelerated math in grades 3 and 4. When we were talking about how do we do this, Michelle said we've already been doing this in 4th grade. In 4th grade is where we start to accelerate kids in math. So if the kids are doing really well in math, we start to break them out in groups and start to accelerate them. And now we have junior high kids taking geometry. So we're gonna push that down to 3rd grade and start accelerating kids in 3rd grade if they're ready for it, and come up with a plan to do that. Number 2 is self-organized learning environments. Basically, it's a voluntary replacement for study hall at Lincoln. Students will be guided in passion-based learning by their facilitators, which would be Darlene and Allison. And that is going to be a laboratory in passion-based learning. So it's replacing a study hall for a kid. Again, it's voluntary. The kid can take study hall if they want, but they can also go into this SOL class. And they're going to come in with their interests. So they might be interested in computer programming. Darlene's not a computer programmer, but Darlene's going to help guide that and be a facilitator for that student to see what they can learn and see what they can produce in that area. And then really the rest of it is kind of just building some capacity. Research and study customized learning environments in place in Wisconsin and New England. Wisconsin has several schools, the top 10 in the country, actually high schools, who are doing customized learning. The kids have their own individual learning plans, and they're doing great things. And New England is doing the same thing too. New England has the League of Innovative Schools, and they're doing a lot with customized learning too. So we're going to research We'd like to make some trips, probably to Wisconsin for sure. We're going to explore the idea of expanding that, possibly beyond 3rd and 4th grade math, not next year, but the year after that. We've talked to Carrie at Webster about possibly doing that beyond math in her building, but that's not a done deal. We're going to explore. We're going to have conversations with some teachers who might be interested in doing that, and go that way. So the other thing, that number 5 there, is that Lightspeed Systems, which provides our content filtering. They're interested in getting into the customized learning business, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it. And so they want to develop a product for us for free, but they want us to be the people that help them develop it. They're going to provide a computer programmer to the consortium. We're going to kind of outline, here's what we need in order to get this done, and then they're going to do the programming and give it to us. So that's part of the project as well too. Okay. So the $300,000, we get $100. $70,000 is going to be spent on professional development and action research. The other $30,000 is available for software if we need it, hardware. I'll tell you, we don't have any definite plans to spend it on hardware or software right now. But if we get into it, and let's say Carrie and teachers decide, hey, we really need something to help us individualize learning in math, technology-wise, a subscription, let's say, to some software, something like that, then we have the money set aside to do that. So right now, that $30,000 is really just going to sit there until we come, until we have a need. Okay. Any questions?
If you're going to Wisconsin, you have to get around Green Bay, I could escort you up there.
Well, Wales.
I hear they have a great football team.
If you're interested in doing some research on Wales, Kettle Moraine School District in Wales, Wisconsin, is one of the top 10 high schools in the country, and it's about an hour and a half west of Milwaukee, and that's where it's kind of hard to say what's going on. Just really quick on the soapbox, we have a lot of devices, we have a lot of technology in kids' hands. If you walk around in our classrooms, you see some cool things happening. You see some cool products like we had with Erica. But we still teach kids in the industrial age model where it's a whole group, okay, where they go through and they're all going through at the same pace, pretty much. And so with the technology that we have available to us, we just feel like we can do more for kids, to individualize it to meet their needs. And so that's what this is about. So.
Great. Congratulations, Dan, and your team.
Good job on the grant.
And I heard we're doing geometry in 3rd grade now, is that what I heard?
Yeah.
I'm down that far.
Yeah. My daughter's going to be in kindergarten next year, so.
She's going to be as smart as her mother.
Yeah.
I've been sitting up here a long time, and maybe it was just a pipe dream, but why can't every kid have an IEP? Every kid.
That's
should have
what
an
that's
this
a
is.
whole goal
That's
is
what this
right
is.
now.
And I'm just excited to hear what you just had to say, because that's like a step, and that's more than a step. I mean, that's a leap in the direction.
And I'll step in. Erica is one of our teachers that's very interested in that. That's why she stayed behind and kind of see what our presentation was over. She's very excited, and we hope to do work with some of the teachers, like Dan said, this next year in Kettery's building. That's really sparked an interest in the customization and developing an IEP for every
Well, I mean,
student.
for so many years, when talking about soapboxes, IEP is kind of like a scarlet letter. I mean,
Right.
Just
It's
should
not.
not be that.
Every
Correct.
student should have.
Everyone should have it.
At what point do we explain this system to parents so that they know exactly how it is?
Yeah, have them call me. But one thing that's really part of this consortium and is the idea that we have to build intellectual capacity within our district. So to go out to the community and talk a little bit ahead of ourselves right now would not probably be. We need to study, and that's part of the project. Is really just to study how can we do this, meet with teachers, how do they think we can do this, and so. Once we have some solid plans in place, that's when we'll start to, talk a little more and get some more community feedback. But we need to study a lot.
Carol, my son was very good at math, and every year he was a year ahead of everybody, and he sat out in the hallway and did the next book. And then he got to like 6th grade, and the teacher said, "There's no way you can be this far ahead. You're gonna repeat what you did last year." I saw the fire go out of his eyes when that happened. And now he has nothing to do with math. Hopefully someday he'll come back and use it, but I think we've got to let kids explore their passion. If their passion is math, let them go. If their passion is science, we've got to let them go. But we don't necessarily know how to do this, so the grant is there to explore and to figure out. And
Two things to wrap up. One is that when we do make that trip to Wisconsin in the fall, we'll definitely talk to board members if any of you want to go to Wisconsin and see what they're doing there. Probably love to have you. The other part is that part of this money we'd like to use to hire a math coach, and I think Dan might be talking about that next, but we'll be using this grant money to hire somebody who can help guide our math teachers in this first year and how do you do this. And so that was part of that money too.
I have a question. Is there an opportunity to renew the grant if you want to progress into the other grades?
So the first year, James Curse and I wrote the grant, and they gave us $200,000. And then the next year, we were able to renew it for another $100,000 for a second year. We're hoping that this is the same way, yes. So we're hoping that after this year, we can renew it. They haven't committed to it.
Any other questions? Thanks, Steve. Very much. Very good. Same way?
well, I don't want to go back to 2 being too well, but sometimes that creates issues. I put it on Friday note a couple of weeks ago that our math sections at the high school were beyond what we were able to handle, so we really needed to hire another math. And since we're now teaching integrated chemistry and physics to the students, then our physics students have gone up past our capacity. And so that's on here. I've never done that before, come to the board every time with saying, here's who we're going to hire, please acknowledge that. But in effort to be more transparent, I want the board to know everything that we're doing when it comes to staffing the schools. And so I talked to Todd yesterday. I said, we're going to hire these 2 people, and then we're going to ask for permission to hire them. And so I want to be clear about that. In the consent agenda, you hired a math coach tonight, and then you just hired a math physics teacher. I wish if it wouldn't have been math, I wouldn't have been in that much of a hurry, and we would have just done it differently. But math is hard to find, and so just acknowledging that we need that extra math teacher at high school, and the grant's allowing us to hire a math coach. And so make sure that you know that.
Well, we certainly don't want to get into that practice, but
Oh, no.
given our circumstances.
Those are very critical.
Yeah.
Tough to find good people in those areas.
We have to be a little bit nimble.
Yep, we did. So,
Huh?
yes.
3.4?
Yeah.
Consider, excuse me,
Are you in motion? Are you in motion on or not?
what do we need to do?
Well, in the past, we've asked for a motion, but since we've already hired them, I don't think we can do that tonight.
I thought we hired them twice, do we have to pay them twice?
We have some additional work we want to do this summer. It's been work we've talked about, and you know it, so, but we're going to have to go through it a little bit anyway.
Good evening. I would like to take a few minutes to submit and review the summer project list for 2013. I have provided a list of projects by building and listed the contractor for the project. All quotes met the required criteria, and all were the respective low quote for each project. You will notice a small asbestos abatement project at Jefferson Elementary. This quote includes a point counting test, air test, to verify that the abatement was a success, and it assures that the building is safe for occupancy. It's essential in a HERA inspection in a school, standard procedure. Let's see. Menominee, Washington, and Webster all have a small list of repairs and contractors provided for each project. Moving on to the next slide. The source for funding for the Innovation Academy renovations is our refunding bond, and it's consisting of 4 rooms in our 5th grade and 4 rooms for our 6th grade PBL. I've listed the contractors that were low bidders for each one of those projects. And moving on, at Lincoln, we'll benefit from the added security and energy savings that our LED lighting project will provide, and as well as needed tuck pointing on the west face and the chimney in the center of the building. Plymouth High School has a list of projects consisting of ADA upgrades for signage, braille requirements that we have to meet, and as well as repairs in 2 locker rooms and exterior concrete replacement on campus. This next slide is our service center renovations. This is a complete list of improvements that will serve the needs for our alternative school, GED program, and create a new precision manufacturing space. The building is currently fully sprinkled, so it's a good candidate for this type of work that we're looking to accomplish there. However, we do have to upgrade and install a fire alarm system, and we have some masonry repairs that we're looking at doing over there as well. We looked into tuck pointing, but the ephes or synthetic stucco was a lower cost solution for that. And as well as we need to upgrade electrical service and install the 480 volt 3-phase to power the manufacturing lab. The next 2 slides are a rendering of the space, which is this is what it will potentially look like when completed. It's an open concept, real world manufacturing space that will offer classroom areas for group instruction when needed, and it is intended to be flexible in configuration and adaptive to meet the needs of business and industry. Our summary. The list of projects break down as follows. $197,156.49. That portion of it is from our capital project fund. $125,713. That is from our refunding bond for the Innovation Academy at Riverside, and the service center. We're looking at $262,500 from our refunding bond for proposed improvements to the service center. This work will total in at $585,369.49. I would be glad to answer any questions you may have regarding the list of projects, and I ask that you approve the list of work so that it can be completed prior to the start of the 13-14 school year.
Any questions for you?
This money now is from the refinancing that we...
Yeah, just to clarify that, I mean, we had bonds outstanding, we refinanced, taking advantage of lower interest rates. So our payments didn't change, but we were generating dollars for capital improvements. So I don't want to say it's money for nothing, but it's out of the same levy of taxes we have the ability to make all these improvements.
Okay, does that include on, over at the service center, replacing the windows where they have the classroom?
Yes, it does, sir. Yeah, we were going to have to replace almost all of the windows on the service center, the exterior doors and frames as well, and quite a few of the interiors that have been added over the years weren't fire rated to the new codes that we have to meet when we upgrade the building. So pretty extensive amount of renovation inside.
Yeah, because when I toured with Dan, that I saw where you had got taped by the windows.
Yes, Mrs. Clevenger's room, yeah, quite a bit of it is end of life in the building, and this bond gives us an opportunity to bring it up.
Let's see you doing it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Dave?
I would move that we approve the bids for the summer projects.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Everything be ready to go by the start of school?
Hopefully, hard question here, but yes,
Okay.
intend to.
You just said hopefully?
It is our intention to have everything.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
3.5, policies and guidelines. This is for our second reading.
I didn't receive any questions, Dan didn't receive any questions, concerns, so if there are none, then I would recommend that we pass these policies and guidelines.
We've had these in our hands. You hear the recommendation. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Handbooks, K through 6.
Well, I'm going to introduce Mr. Dunn and Mr. Boyer. Mr. Dunn's going to share the handbook changes for elementary, and Mr. Boyer's going to share the handbook changes for 5th and 6th grade.
Okay, so the only change you have is in a recommendation from the nurses on immunizations. Everything else is the same from the previous year. Any questions, Jeff?
Michael, how much of a change is that for immunization?
It's great. It's a reduction in actual the number of immunizations that's required for, I do believe it's, sorry for the allergies, I think it's grade 2 and grade 1.
So we're not adding any more?
No, I do believe that is a reduction.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that comes from the state health department.
All right, thanks, Michael.
Good evening. We do have a few more changes at Riverside than just the immunizations. But we also have changes to immunizations, and those are reflected in the handbook. And then we also have, I noticed that the information in the handbook regarding information for emergencies and closings still had the Plymouth blog, the Plymouth Truth blog on there, so I updated that to reflect the new website where that information is posted. Additionally, page 8, I made the changes to the meal prices. There's been an increase next year in the meal prices, so I made sure that was reflected in the handbook. Use of technology. We do have some Riverside-specific technology, I guess, guidelines that we have, and I made sure that those were reflected in the handbook as well, specifically pertaining to take-home use of the computers on the weekends and extended holidays and breaks. So we want to make sure that language is in there for students and parents. Also, there's new language, I think, in our bylaws and policies regarding cell phones or personal communication devices. So also made sure that those changes were reflected in our handbook in terms of the rules that students are to follow with their cell phones at schools. I think those are some positive changes that have been made. I know that we've kind of had a zero tolerance policy when it comes to student cell phones, and we are in the 21st century, and I think we needed to have some changed law or rules and guidelines there, so we've got those in. And then finally, bullying. I think we're waiting on maybe some state level laws to kind of finish hashing out, and if those do, we will make an addendum to the bullying policy that we have. But at this time, what we had in the last year does reflect the law that's on the Indiana Department of Education website. So I know, like I said, I made sure to check that, but I do know that there could be a change coming down soon, so we will make an addendum if need be. Any questions about those changes to our handbook?
For all of you, there could be other changes that need to be reflected later on that we don't know about yet. We're just beginning to find out what was passed in the last legislative session.
Questions?
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, and to vote, we're going to look at the review the handbooks for grades 7 through 12. I believe Greg Hoppel and Ken Olson are here to do that reviewing with us. Come on out, guys.
It's Bow Tie Tuesday at Lincoln. It's, you know, it's crazy bow tie today. So.
Just don't ask for United Colonizer Barbershop Quartet.
You're starting to dress alike. It's a little scary.
Yeah, it's starting to dress
Great,
like
watch
it's
the
getting
hair.
scary.
You could go bald.
Here are just some minor changes in language, and if you have the document in front of you from the LJH handbook, they're highlighted in red, so you can kind of see those things. First thing under our lunch breakfast procedures, we have added got language about purchasing a salad. We've had an opportunity the second semester at Lincoln Junior High to offer another healthy choice, and salad has been one of those choices that we've added. We've also added some information about how visitors get into our building. We currently have been using this in practice, but we're going ahead and put the language in our handbook with visitors and how they come into our building. It's been very well received by our community members as they come in to our building, so it's been looked very favorable about how they enter our building. Just some minor changes on grading procedures. Algebra, geometry, Chinese, and integrated chemistry, physics are going to be graded using a weighted grading scale, and that's in line with what they do at the high school level. So we added some language there on that. We've also added under athletic eligibility, there's some language there's been added at the very bottom of the document that's more in line to what the high school language is there. And just going to kind of scroll down there. So under behavior eligibility, we've added some language there and some statements that are aligned to what the high school currently has in place too as well. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of other changes.
Personal issue.
Sure.
Entering the building. I don't know how many times I've had road rage of somebody pulling up and parking at the Circle Drive during drop off. And usually one of you are there, and to the extent somebody isn't, they happened again this morning. I almost ran this lady down. But as we I know we discourage. Should we just indicate that don't park in the Circle Drive, or is that still happening?
Well, I try to be out there every day because I know we have 2 lanes of traffic.
I've only got a few weeks left, and you're done with me.
Right. And here again, the reason why I'm out there is for that reason. Try to be another set of eyes, either watching the kids dropping off, also looking, matching adults, and just getting to know the members in the community. We haven't talked really much about that. I was going to try to get through the rest of the school year before we kind of address anything else at this point.
I mean, parking, circulation is kind of a constant issue, but putting it in here is not going to solve that. I appreciate what you guys are doing out there.
When they built that building, did they have cars?
I went through much of
I was gonna say, it wasn't that bad when I went there. Did you have a car? No, we were on the bus.
I tied my horse to that one.
Thanks, Craig.
Yeah. It's just not set up very well for morning traffic.
I've got the high school changes for you, just like Craig. Ours are highlighted in red in the handbook, and I'm trying not to go through, we changed a bunch of word things, so I'm trying to go through kind of major changes. And I've sent you those changes there also. In terms of our tornado fire drill, lockdown procedure drill, we removed the word code red, which was in the handbook for that, so I want to make you guys aware if you go through and see that that's not there anymore. It's not something that we're using anymore. The peer mentoring program is a program that the guidance department had started and they've since discontinued, so we've taken that out of the handbook as well. Clubs and organizations, we have 2 clubs that have proposed and been accepted to go forward. It's starting next year. The first being the robotics club that is next with our PLTW program of adding the 3rd PLTW class, and then they'll have the robotics club that goes along. And then HOSO, which goes with our nursing program. It's the Health Organization Specialties Association, and it's the group that they're tied into with that. We have also made a change in the athletic code of conduct based on advice from the corporation attorney. We removed number 10 from the code of conduct, which stated, or any other act which may prove detrimental to the school and the athletic programs. We were advised to remove that based on recent Supreme Court rulings they're saying you can't have something that broad-based. So we did that. So Mr. Bennett and his group took that out. School dress and grooming, we are making a change based on the handbook committee's recommendations. Excuse me, we've added number 8. Leggings or yoga pants must be worn under a skirt, shorts, or shirt of a length that meets the appropriate length described in number 7 above, which is when your hands hanging down at your fingertip length. See a lot of people wearing very, very tight leggings with nothing covering them. So we had that. It's an uncomfortable moment there. Sorry. To speak of. And then Wednesday school, we added in the language that we're, in addition to the ISS, that we have the Wednesday school rescheduled. And then, as I said, there was a lot of just kind of cleaning up language things with the core 48 form. Any questions?
So with that, I think we
probably should not ask what are yoga pants.
Stretchy pants.
Yeah, there's.
Like your dogs
Well,
have
stretchy
to wear
pants,
them.
yeah.
there's.
Yeah, they're not
I
quite
feel
leggings.
that. Tights.
Yeah, they're not quite leggings, they're more flared at the bottom and.
Yeah.
Good word choice. If you go to Sam Moise's yoga class on Wednesday nights.
Tell them what's that clarified for you.
You've been very uncomfortable with it.
Remember leotard? Kind of like those.
I'm not answering that question.
Earlier this year, the principals that work on the handbooks said that we would like to get to a common handbook, but we weren't going to do it this year, but we will get to it next year. Just want to make sure that gets into the minutes.
How do you identify an emergency situation if you're not using code red anymore? I'm just curious.
Lockdown with them.
You just say
Internal and
lockdown.
It's just,
external.
yeah, it's just,
Internal or external?
Code red and code blue are not supposed to be utilized.
Any other questions? Thank you all. 3.8, consider affiliation agreement with St. Mary's College.
This is my last one to address tonight. We have an agreement, we would like to have an agreement with St. Mary's College. They have come to me, along to Linda Holland, about a month ago, asking us to take on their students in the speech and language program that will be in the master's program. They currently house bachelor's, and they're trying to develop a master's program in speech and language therapy. And they would like for us to utilize our facility and our services and our teachers and house them here for internships. That is a win-win for our corporation. As you well know, it's hard to find speech and language pathologists. So when I approached Mr. Tyree on this, we both came to the agreement that would be in our best interest. One is we can get them here, see how they do, and lure them to fulfill those openings when they come, because I do know some of our speech and language pathology people are nearing retirement, and you have to have a master's degree to teach in our schools. So I would like for you to consider this agreement, and please sign it, and so that we can house these students here at the school corporation.
For the recommendation, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
A motion is second. You get a chance to look at these?
I have reviewed it, and the one thing that really stood out in my mind is paragraph, it's 4, I believe, requires an orientation and update. So I think that's the most important part, that as we have people coming in and out of our schools, that we make sure that we're communicating with them what is required of them when they're in our school buildings, and we update that regularly. And as long as that's maintained, I think it's a very good agreement.
So these students would be shadowing existing speech and hearing teachers?
Could be, along with, within that master's program, along with teaching. So it would be like a student-teacher type of situation.
My daughter's in the program at Purdue, and they have to do clinicals. They have to do clinicals at schools, they have to go to nursing homes, they have to go to hospitals, any place a speech hearing therapist would be, they have to do clinicals there and learn how to do it, so.
So any benefit to the teacher actually accepting this as a responsibility, monetary-wise?
No, not from St. Mary's unless they put that into their program. Right at this time, they're trying to develop it and want to see if there's any corporation out there willing to house the students before they move forward. So they are looking at that. That was one of the things we addressed with them.
Is this predicated on their opportunity to volunteer, or is this pretty much expected?
No, it's a volunteer.
Yeah, we screen the person and take them through a little application.
Right now, we have one speech therapist that has to leave at the end of the year to go do her clinical practicum outside of here. And we are allowing her to leave to do so. And if we don't allow people to come in and do these practicums with us, we're not going to have a turnover in speech and language pathologists. I mean, it's hard. It was hard for me to locate one when we needed one.
Well, my only concern is we're getting fewer and fewer teachers willing to accept the responsibility of student teaching, or having a student teacher, just because of the other demands, because it is demanding.
Right.
Michelle, would it be fair to say that having these students on staff helps to maybe increase the amount of helping hands in that classroom with speech pathology on top of giving them, that's the added benefit, that although they have to supervise them, they also provide added therapy, so it can reduce the small group from, say, 3 to 1 to maybe 1 to 1.
The agreement just allows them to come to us for these people. We would still have the right to say, we're not going to take that person. And I think they're asking all of the
All Marshall County schools
yeah,
right
so
now.
you'll have it too.
You'll have it too, yes. Well, and all the Jesse, the 9 co-ops, the 9 schools in the co-op.
Other questions? Have motion and second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. 3.9, consider St. Joe Regional Medical Center staffing amendment number 2.
That is adding a school nurse to cover for the summer school periods, just be 4 hours a day during the high school. And she will also cover the elementary timing and the migrant. So we're asking that this be added. And yes, Mr. William liked that.
You've heard the explanation. I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion and second. Questions? Mine's already been answered, I suppose. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Superintendent Marks.
4.1, commitment to students. Here's Mr. Funston, the people that helped him write the grants. This has really allowed us to do some innovative things over the years, and it's very important that we continue to do that to raise the level of education for our students. 4.2, our core values is caring. And I'd like to say congratulations to Norma Rodriguez, who serves on the parent liaison on Hispanic families. Recently, she was, in March, she was recognized for her services to the Latino school families. Mrs. Rodriguez does a ton of work that doesn't always get recognized, so we want to make sure we give her a pat on the back, because she's got to cover 7 schools. 4.3 in our core values is high expectations. I'd like to say congratulations to Plymouth High School for being ranked 26th best high school in Indiana by U.S. News and World Report. 388 schools, high schools in Indiana. This is an outstanding accomplishment that everyone in Indiana should be proud of. I'd also like to, along the way, say that our K through 8 teachers have done a great job of getting kids prepared to get into the high school and have a chance to win this award from U.S. News and World Report. As you remember, about 4 years ago, we were a bronze medalist. This is a silver medal. Very good.
There's still a gold medal out there, right?
What were there, 2 or 3 of them in Indiana? Yeah, not very many, but we're going for it. All right, team player, 4.4 in our core values. Next year, Washington Discovery Academy has been asked to work with the New Tech Network on developing a new tech for elementary schools. This is a great opportunity for our Washington Discovery Academy to create something that other schools will model for years to come. And you know, it was just, we didn't go looking for this. They came, we gave them a tour when we were looking at Riverside and the junior high being a part of New Tech, and we took them to Washington, and then they called and said, we really want to come back and bring some people to see what you're doing there. So it's an opportunity. I think Andy and 2 teachers are going to actually be flown up to Napa this summer to start that work. So have fun. 4.5 in our core values is integrity. You know, last week we saw the rest of the state, along with Plymouth, had major issues with the I-STEP testing. And I want to say that I really appreciate our principals, our teachers, our parents, and our students for handling the situation with professionalism. Glenda Reese was here 2 weeks ago and sat in my office and told me that she wanted to continue working with CT McGraw-Hill and dump the park test and test Common Core using CT McGraw-Hill. And I struggle knowing that the 3 years we've done online testing, we've had the same trouble. We've had the same problems. And I've written a letter to Mrs. Ritz and some of our legislators saying maybe we need to look at another vendor for those tests. I struggle having to work with CT McGraw-Hill. And then the last core value is enjoyment. We just received notice yesterday that speech coach David McKenzie has been voted into the NFL National Hall of Fame for speech and debate coaches. He'll be inducted this summer in Birmingham, Alabama. Congratulations to Dave for this great honor. And then in the future, we've got Tuesday, June 4th, executive session at 6:15. That's when we do the midterm evaluation for me, so you'll need to look at that large rubric. And then the regular board meeting will be on the 4th at 7 o'clock. Should have made that about 15 minutes after. Then on June 5th, we have a classified breakfast at 8 o'clock. We'd like to invite board members to join us, helping honor our classified workers for another great school year. June 7th, PHS graduation, and be at the auditorium on the east side at 7 o'clock.
In the doorway, outside door 7, in the foyer area opposite.
7 o'clock?
And, yeah, let's meet about 10 till. About 10 to 7.
Mr. Van Backer isn't on the board anymore. You don't even remember him.
Backer time.
We're working on the focus groups. Just want to let you know we're about done with the business and industry, and we have set up an opportunity on the 14th to do the focus group with students. That's at 10:30 time. So if any of you are free and available, let me know, and you can come over and be involved. We're going to be talking to 9 through 12 students in the focus group. So that's all I have. It was a great night last night, honoring the teachers who were retiring, and just saying thank you to all the teachers during Teacher Appreciation Week.
I think I have this right a week from Friday also at the high school, senior awards.
Yes. That will begin at 8:15 and conclude at approximately 10:15. You are all welcome to attend. If you'd like to attend and join me on the stage, please let me know. I will have Lisa contact each of you individually. If you would like to attend but be seated in the bleachers, you're welcome to do that too. Your presence is always appreciated. She will reach out to you.
That's it.
Under enjoyment, I thoroughly enjoyed the variety show. I'm assuming most of us, or hopefully you had a chance to go. It was, I know our programs at all levels are special, but really enjoyed it. There was a lot of talent that night and a lot of fun. Anything else? Anything from the folks that remain? Yes.
2.19, non-resident student admissions, are we just, it just says are we looking at continuing the program? I mean, I'm just looking at something that says non-resident student admissions for this year, next year, are we entertaining?
We have a list of people that have asked to come into
So these are
celebration, we
just-
have approved
This
that
is the
list.
same thing we've been
Yes.
doing.
Oh, yes.
Y'all been doing it.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
We do.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In the fall, Phil Scott was in here. He had given a presentation to the board about taking a class to Washington DC, I believe. And he said he was going to report back. Do you know?
They haven't gone yet.
They're leaving on the 23rd of May, and they'll be back the 27th. Mr. Hoppel's going with his daughter, and we have probably 5 or 6 of our staff members that are going.
Because I know what that
75
means.
kids.
How many?
75, approximately.
Well, I know he had talked about he was going to try to make it possible for some kids that could not afford to go, some way of trying to raise the funds. Do you know if he was able to do that?
I think in a couple incidents, yes, there are opportunities. We've helped some kids.
Great.
Okay, I don't know how many to be exact, but I think there's a couple.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Now I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.